Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal Part 328 based on novel. So let's start. Time was like a deadly knife hanging in the air that was rapidly falling toward Wang Lin. There were 2 more days. Now there were 100 wild continents around where Wang Lin was. They were arranged in a strange way, containing origin energy, along with a hint of lore. Wang Lin and the woman in silver had shrouded the continents with 3 of the great restrictions, forming a storm that could destroy the heavens. However, Wang Lin continued to suppress it, not letting it explode until the surrounding continents had been refined into a giant restriction treasure using the 3 great restriction. Master Flamespark had borrowed the Thunder Celestial Realm fragments to refine a treasure. Although Wang Lin's materials weren't as good, this method was equal and even a bit superior due to the 3 great restrictions. If Master Flamespark were to fight Wang Lin now, he would certainly lose. These 100 wild continents gave off a powerful pressure, but Wang Lin continued to suppress it until it was hidden. He wasn't arrogant enough to think he could fool a 3rd step cultivator, but he wanted its power to condense to a certain point before it erupted. Wang Lin had rarely prepared this crazily in a short period of time in all the life and death battles he had so far. Every extra thing he prepared would be an extra lifeline in this struggle. This time, Wang Lin knew that a 3rd step cultivator wanted to kill him, and he had almost no chance of survival. If it was anyone else but Wang Lin, they would have likely already collapsed in despair and wouldn't have the will to resist. After all, it was a 3rd step cultivator, so all preparations done would be useless. However, Wang Lin was heaven-defying cultivator and royal ancient god. His pride, his dignity, his heaven-defying nature wouldn't allow him to yield. Not even a 3rd step cultivator could make him yield. I can die, but I will die fighting, not suffer a humiliating death. If you want to kill me, you must pay the price. Wang Lin's eyes were bloodshot as he had prepared for 5 days straight. He took a deep breath as his hands formed a seal and then he suddenly opened his arms. As Wang Lin's hands moved, a bloodstorm spread out with Wang Lin as the center. In a short period of time, it spread across the wild continents until all of them were enveloped by it. There were large amount of fierce beasts on these wild continents. When Wang Lin moved the wild continents here, he didn't move the fierce beasts. As a result, the amount of fierce beasts gathered here was terrifying. The Tattoo clan ancestor once taught me tattoo spells, and Tarshan also secretly told me what he learned as well. Tattoos are refined from animal skins, taking the essence of the beast to form a tattoo. They have heaven-shaking power. However, this spell is simply too terrifying and requires too many lives. I didn't want to use this, but now I'm forced to. There was a flash of red light in Wang Lin's eyes as he began a complicated chant. This chant turned into tattoos around him. They charged into the bloodstorm and, in a flash, covered all the wild continents. The fierce beasts on the wild continents all trembled and let out miserable screams as their bodies and blood quickly withered. Even their bones melted as the essence of their bodies condensed on a piece of skin between their eyebrows and formed a blood-colored tattoo. The countless fierce beasts let out earth-shattering roars that echoed across the Rank 5 region. All the cultivators in the Rank 5 region sensed this shock, and those with low cultivations levels even began to hallucinate as they couldn't control their minds. As the fierce beasts collapsed, these tattoos floated above all the wild continents, creating an astonishing pressure. This pressure was enough to destroy a late-stage Nirvana Shatterer cultivator. Their body would instantly collapse, and it would be difficult for their origin soul to escape death. 10 million swords condensed into one is the first counterattack I prepared for the 3rd step cultivator that wants to kill me. 100 wild continents fused with the 3 great restrictions is the second counterattack I have prepared for him. Countless Tattoo clan tattoos formed by countless fierce beasts that could destroy the world will be the 3rd counterattack. The endless origin crystals that piled up around Wang Lin all collapsed and dissipated as the origin energy inside was drained away. Even people at the Heaven's Blight stage would without a doubt die if they got hit by these 3 kill moves. But this isn't the limit of my 2,000 years of cultivation. Wang Lin had given it his all for this battle. He took a deep breath as his hand reached out and his storage space opened. A bolt of thunder flew out. The moment the thunder appeared, there was a roar. The thunder beast formed by the god-slaying war chariot appeared. As soon as it appeared, Wang Lin waved his right hand and all the decorations Master Flamespark had added onto it collapsed, and it returned to the mighty form of the past. Roar. This thunder beast let out a roar and its eyes revealed a powerful gaze. It had already gained intelligence, so it knew Wang Lin was facing a crisis. There are still several seals left on this god-slaying war chariot. If it was in the past, I wouldn't have opened them, but now I can. Wang Lin took a deep breath and blew forward. A gust of wind came from his mouth and landed on the thunder beast. The thunder beast trembled violently and released cracking sounds as if a mirror was shattering. Release all the seals on the second god-slaying war chariot. Wang Lin's eyes suddenly opened, revealed a cold gaze. As the wind fell on the war chariot, he spat a mouthful of blood that landed on the war chariot as well. The thunder beast let out a painful cry as its body expanded rapidly. The seals on its body rapidly collapsed until all of them were released. The god-slaying war chariot that didn't get to storm the celestial realm before it collapsed revealed itself once more to the world. As the thunder beast's body expanded, it became tens of thousands of feet tall. Its body quickly changed, its bottom half turning into a giant war chariot. Its upper body changed drastically as well, becoming a giant spear. This spear was connected with the war chariot and gave off endless thunder when it appeared before Wang Lin. A heaven-shaking aura exploded from the war chariot and onto Wang Lin's body, causing him to stop breathing for a moment. Even the earth began trembling, and the 100 wild continents covered by the 3 great restrictions also trembled. Now it is worthy of being called god-slaying. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he waved his right hand and the giant war chariot fell down on his left side. The spear gave off a powerful killing intent as it pointed at the sky. Wang Lin's right hand reached out once more and a 5-colored butterfly came out and began circling him. There was also a blood swallow accompanying the butterfly. This third god-slaying war chariot is the strongest. Even now, I can't open it all, but aside from the last one, I'm confident in opening the rest. Wang Lin's hand formed a seal, and blood flew out and landed on the butterfly. In an instant, the butterfly trembled and even its wings seemed to stop moving. Then a giant cocoon gradually appeared around it. This cocoon was similar to when it became a butterfly. The moment it appeared, endless origin energy began to gather. Even Wang Lin had his origin energy rapidly absorbed. As it absorbed origin energy, the cocoon grew bigger and bigger until it was 10,000 feet tall. Wang Lin's eyes closed as he continued to take out origin crystals for the cocoon to absorb. Soon, the cocoon stopped growing in size, but the aura inside became more fierce. Time slowly passed, and one day went by. The cocoon that was floating there suddenly collapsed and created a powerful blast that blew everything back. Even Wang Lin was pushed back over 10,000 feet, but his eyes were filled with ecstasy. As the cocoon collapsed, a 7-colored war chariot thousands of feet large appeared. This war chariot didn't have a spear, but possessed 7 terrifying thorns. As the thorns absorbed origin energy, they gave off a 7-colored glow. It suddenly landed, and as Wang Lin moved, the 2 war chariots stood on his left and right. These 2 war chariots are my 4th counterattack. Unfortunately, I don't have enough time. If I had more time, I would be able to prepare a few more. Wang Lin looked up at the sky. There was only 1 day left. There was only 12 hours left. He predicted that in 12 hours, the person that wanted to kill him would come and the life and death crisis would begin. My last preparation will be to suck out the rust from the broken iron sword in the next 12 hours. Wang Lin waved his right hand and the broken iron sword flew out. Even if this iron sword was repaired, it wouldn't be enough to resist this crisis, and Wang Lin didn't intend to repair it, as it was too late. What he wanted were the blood stains on the iron sword. I can't find any clue about this blood, but I can feel that it contains an unimaginable force. It is similar to ancient god blood, but at the same time different. It is even a bit similar to the heaven's blood the Azura dragon divine emperor mentioned. Wang Lin suddenly opened his mouth and inhaled. He swallowed the iron sword and began refining it inside his origin soul. A lonely figure moved among the stars, wearing white with a head of flowing, blue hair, giving off a superb sense of beauty. Li Qianmai flew ahead with confusion and determination. There were still tears on her face as she bit her lower lip and flew faster and faster. There are some things in this world that have no logic, and one can only rely on their feelings. It doesn't matter whether it was worth it or not, it had to be done. She let out a sigh as she endured the sadness and bitterness in her heart. She flew even faster. Rank 9 region, where the god sect was, hidden deep within the fog, was a cultivation planet. There was a large formation here, and the center was a very gorgeous palace. Inside the palace, Mu Bingmai sat there as she stared ahead. Her beautiful face revealed an indifferent expression. "Why are you trapping me here?" Wang Shanshan was sitting outside the palace and frowned as she said, "Big sister Mu, it is difficult to violate teacher's order. Little sister is also very puzzled. Perhaps teacher gave this order because he wants you to recover as soon as possible." Mu Bingmai silently pondered. She didn't understand why the god sect's head elder was like this, and it gave off a strange feeling. There was a tingling sensation in her heart that she couldn't make out. It was as if something big was going to happen, and it was going to happen to someone she knew. At this moment, Mu Bingmai didn't know that the rank 8 sect competition had been cancelled or that Li Qianmai had left the heaven-breaking sect. She didn't know that Wang Lin was facing his biggest crisis yet, his fate unknown. If she knew all of this, how would she choose? Time slowly passed, and Wang Lin still sat on the wild continent. His origin soul had turned into fire under the 2 pieces of the broken sword, forcing out the bloodstains on them. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, until 10 hours had passed. After consuming all the origin crystals, he had finally forced out 30% of the bloodstains from the iron sword. This dark blood turned into a bean-sized pill that gave off a strange aura and floated around Wang Lin. Forcing out 30% of the blood from the iron sword was Wang Lin's limit. Even if he had more time, he wouldn't be able to force out more. If it wasn't for the danger forcing him into peak condition, he wouldn't have been able to force so much out. He then put away the iron sword and the woman in silver. He sat there and adjusted his body. His heart rate slowed down until it took several breaths for it to beat once. It was dead silent. The last 2 hours slowly passed. At the last moment, Wang Lin opened his eyes and calmly looked at the sky. At this instant, the star fog began to surge and an unimaginable pressure slowly came out of the fog. His arrived. Wang Lin's pupils suddenly shrank but soon returned to normal as he coldly stared at the sky. That pressure was heaven shaking. The moment it appeared, the earth trembled and showed signs of collapse. At this instant, all the fog shrouding the rank 5 region was suddenly pushed back. The fog moved like a wave, and the roars from the fog became even more intense. It was as if all the fierce beasts inside the fog were terrified. At the same time, a giant vortex made of fog suddenly appeared at the edge of Wang Lin's vision. A thunderous rumble echoed as a giant arm came out from the vortex and shot toward Wang Lin. The arm was very old and was filled with wrinkles. It was the hand of an elder. At this moment, it reached toward Wang Lin, and it seemed as if the entire world was going to collapse before it. The origin energy of the world seemed to be sealed by a strange force. None remained within this region. The speed of that giant hand was indescribable. The moment Wang Lin saw it come out of the vortex, it was above his head, reaching toward him like grabbing an ant. There were no words, no questions, no chance for survival as the hand descended. Wang Lin had encountered this in the 7-colored realm before as well. It seemed every third-step cultivator liked spells like these that would crush those they considered ants. It seemed like aside from other third-step cultivators, no one could make these people appear in their real bodies, much less an ant like Wang Lin. However, an ant could still bite, struggle, and resist. Not to mention Wang Lin had never considered himself an ant. Even if he did, he would still want to devour the world, filled with defying intent. The moment the hand reached down, Wang Lin's eyes revealed a frenzied gaze and he let out a cold snort. He leaped at the hand like a meteor. Not even third-step cultivators can make me yield. The battle intent inside Wang Lin's heart ignited and the star of law between his eyebrows rotated like crazy. The moment he charged out, he closed in on the hand, and when it reached at him, he let out a heaven-shaking roar. 10 million sword shadows. Wang Lin's right index finger pointed at the hand that was closing in on him. The sword energy hidden inside suddenly erupted. 1, 2, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. 5 million, 8 million. 9,999,999. Just one sword shadow short of 10 million erupted from Wang Lin's right index finger. At this moment, Wang Lin's right index finger became the last sword shadow, and the sword shadows reached 10 million, a level of completion. The moment that completion was reached, the shadows of 2 deer appeared and surrounded Wang Lin's index finger as it collided with the hand. This was the collision of a palm and a finger. It was 10 million sword shadows condensed into one. It had the power to kill all Nirvana Shatara cultivators, and even Heaven's Blight cultivators would be shocked. This was Wang Lin's first attack against the person that wanted to kill him. A thunderous bang echoed across the world. This shockwave spread across the entire Rank 5 region and caused all the various cultivators to cough out blood. Their faces were pale and filled with indescribable horror. Everything in the world seemed to slow down. Wang Lin's finger landed on the hand at this moment, and the 10 million sword shadows hidden inside his finger erupted. The sword shadows rushed into the huge hand like crazy. The 10 million sword shadows carried Wang Lin's madness, unwillingness, and his spirit as a heaven-defying cultivator into the hand in an extreme fashion. The 2 deer shadows rushed out with the 10 million sword shadows and turned into black and white gas that entered the palm. Popping sounds echoed from inside the hand and seemed to replace all sounds in the world. It was as if the heavens themselves had stopped moving. The only thing left in this world was the scene of Wang Lin's finger colliding with that palm. The giant, desolate palm suddenly paused for a moment, and endless popping sounds echoed. If one looked closely, there seemed to be 10 million silver snakes moving around under its skin, causing the popping sounds to become even more intense. A thunderous rumble echoed as if the world was going to collapse. The skin of the hand burst, but, strangely, there was no blood, and not even a sliver of origin energy came out. The hand rose after the pause, and a soft exclamation came from the endless fog behind the hand. An ancient voice came from the fog as a powerful pressure suddenly descended from the sky. You have some skill. However, how can a firefly compare to the moon? You dare to rise into the air before me? Get back down. That pressure was extremely powerful. If a Nirvana Shatara cultivator touched it, they would immediately die. When it landed on Wang Lin, he coughed out blood. It felt like a carriage weighing 10 million tons or countless cultivation planets were smashing into him. Popping sounds came from his bones as the pressure crushed down and he was smashed into the ground. He had no power to resist at all. However, Wang Lin had the body of an ancient god. After wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, he roared, 10 million sword shadows, collapse. 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 Wang Lin's voice was filled with a crazy amount of killing intent. He had been a heaven-defying cultivator all his life. He defied the world and would never yield. The moment his voice echoed, the 10 million sword shadows that had entered the hand suddenly trembled and exploded. The explosion of the 10 million sword shadows was impossible to describe, and a rumble that could collapse the Rank 5 region echoed. In a flash, a heaven-defying aura spread out from the hand. It was as if 10 million cultivators had turned into flying swords, entered the hand, and launched a crazed, self-destructive attack. The roar seemed to come from ancient times, shocking the world. This spell was enough to kill any Nirvana Shatara cultivator, and even Heaven's Blight cultivators would be forced off in an sorry state. However, at this moment, the giant hand suddenly trembled and a strange force appeared. The collapse of the 10 million sword shadows suddenly dissipated. The hand was left unscathed. There was only a red point at the center of the palm, and a drop of blood fell. Wang Lin's spells were able to destroy 4 fingers from Daoist Blue Dream. Now his power had increased greatly, and the power of the unsealed swords were not ordinary. In Wang Lin's first exchange with Daoist water, Wang Lin coughed out blood. Intense pain came from his bones, his body felt like it was being torn apart, and he was smashed down from the sky. However, Daoist water was injured. Even thought it was only a small wound, he was still injured. A third-step cultivator that wanted to kill a small Nirvana Shatterer cultivator had suffered a small wound from the Nirvana Shatterer cultivator. Wang Lin knew that if news of this spread out, it would be enough to shock everyone in the sealed realm and the outer realm. The third step was a legendary cultivation level. In the sealed realm, third-step cultivators were extremely rare. Even in the outer realm, they were extremely rare. A third-step cultivator could sweep the world and would even dare to battle heaven itself. They were like the emperors among cultivators. All cultivators were like ants before them and could be easily wiped out. A Nirvana Shatterer cultivator could be a teacher in a sect, and a Heaven's Blight cultivator could be a high elder, but before a third-step cultivator, they were all like ants that could be killed at will. This was strength. This was the cruel truth of the cultivation world. The law of the jungle. If Wang Lin was a third-step cultivator, Daoist Water would have been extremely cautious with his desire to kill him. He most likely wouldn't have chosen to fight at all and instead would have invited Wang Lin as an esteemed guest. Then the two would sit down and trade for what they wanted. If Wang Lin was a third-step cultivator, he could have swept through the Alliance, Cloud Sea, and all heaven. Even Master Lu Fu would be very polite and would show respect. Neither side would provoke the other. Strength was everything, and it was the key to surviving in this cruel cultivation world. I underestimated you, little ant, but the more you struggle, the more this old man wants to kill you. The ancient voice echoed throughout the world like thunder. The fog tumbled violently as a boy wearing a Daoist robe walked out. This boy had a head of white hair, but his skin was white and clear. When he came out, his gaze fell on Wang Lin below. Third-step cultivators rarely appeared in person, as they could merge with the world and create a third-step avatar anywhere. Only life and death battles between third-step cultivators would cause them to fight in their real bodies. But Daoist Water had unexpectedly come in his real body. This obviously showed his will to kill Wang Lin, but also showed how cautious and important he thought of this matter. He was worried that Wang Lin was really the reincarnation of his master. He was worried that Wang Lin had heaven-defying treasures. The moment the white-haired boy walked out of the fog, killing intent erupted from Wang Lin's eyes. He was waiting for this moment, waiting for the enemy to reveal their true body. I can't think about that chance of survival I predicted, or I'll have a fallback plan and there won't be that fierceness in my heart. As a result, I'll without a doubt die. Only by putting my back against the wall and throwing away my life can I obtain peak power. Wang Lin revealed a ferocious and crazed expression. He cut off all thoughts of retreat and pushed himself into a dead end. In truth, the moment the white-haired boy appeared, he was already at a dead end. The moment the white-haired boy came out of the fog, Wang Lin waved his hands and let out a roar. If you want to kill me, you will have to pay a price. As Wang Lin roared, he flew into the air once more without retreating. Just at this moment, the 100 continents around Wang Lin began to roar and a bloodlight shined. Endless blood tattoos flew out. They completely filled the area, and it was impossible to calculate how many there were. As Wang Lin roared, the blood-colored tattoos flew at the white-haired boy, carrying with them the power to destroy the heavens. The howling was horrifying. Every single blood tattoo was formed by the blood essence of a fierce beast. They also contained Tao intent unique to the beasts in the Cloud Sea, causing the power of the blood tattoos to be far more powerful than ones refined in the other star systems. As they flew at the white-haired boy, the sky was dyed red, and a thunderous howl covered the sky. You know the Tattoo Clan's spell, but this spell is useless against this old man. Daoist Water's expression was neutral, and the moment the boundless tattoos closed in, he casually waved his right hand. Carefree Tao collapse. Daoist Water's voice was calm, but it gave the illusion that a god was roaring. His voice became more intense as it spread out like crazy. All the blood tattoos that collided with the invisible sound wave collapsed and couldn't get near Water Daoist at all. The collapse was endless, just like the amount of blood tattoos. A thunderous rumble echoed and the entire Rank 5 region trembled violently. There was a tearing sound as a spatial crack split the Rank 5 region in half. Tattoos, turn into blood. Wang Lin's hands formed a seal and he spat out a mouthful of blood. This blood had a demonic glow, and the moment it appeared, all the blood from the collapsed tattoos gathered. In an instant, The blood before him gave off a bright red light and charged forward, breaking all spells in its path as it shot toward Daoist water. However, as the blood closed in, one gaze from Daoist Dao caused it to collapse. At this moment, the white-haired boy reached out and one drop of blood stopped collapsing. It quickly flew into the boy's hand. The white-haired body held that drop of blood and swallowed it, then his eyes began to shine. Not his reincarnation. The collapse of the blood tattoos wasn't outside of Wang Lin's expectations. His 10 million sword shadows were able to leave a small wound. However, now that the other party had used third-step spells, all other spells would collapse. The Tattoo Clan spell was still a spell, so it naturally would have no effect. But this was exactly what Wang Lin wanted. As the blood collapsed and the tattoos were destroyed, the world was almost completely dyed red. At this moment, Wang Lin waved his hand and shouted, "Restriction Dao." A restriction wasn't a spell, it was formed from a strand of aura from ancient times that turned into its own Dao. In particular, Wang Lin had fused the 3 great restrictions, almost reaching the origin of restrictions. At this moment, the 100 wild continents began to shake and rapidly rotated under Wang Lin's control, smashing toward Daoist water. Annihilation restriction, seal the world. Life and death restriction, seal the body. Time restriction, seal the origin soul. 3 great restrictions as one, seal, seal, seal. Seal your world, seal your body, and seal your origin soul. Wang Lin pointed forward. Thunderous rumbles echoed. Aside from the wild continent under Wang Lin, all of the other wild continents circled around Daoist water, creating a formation. A powerful pressure appeared and crushed down on Daoist water. The restrictions on these 100 wild continents that had been suppressed this whole time erupted. The annihilation restriction burst out, forming a giant cage that trapped the world. The life and death restriction formed 2 auras, one of life and one of death. They surrounded the white-haired boy, forming the life and death restriction. The time restriction had reversed 5,000 years due to Wang Lin's flowing time spell. Now it erupted with an ancient aura that shrouded the white-haired boy's origin soul. As Wang Lin spoke, the 3 great restrictions suddenly erupted. 3 great restrictions. Unfortunately, the 4th restriction isn't present, or it might have had some power. Daoist Water's eyes lit up as he waved his right hand once more. With a wave of his hand, the world collapsed. The carefree Dao collapse he had just used hadn't dissipated, and the wave caused its power to reach a peak. It could collapse all living things in this world. The endless collapse echoed like crazy, causing cracks to appear on the 100 wild continents, and in the blink of an eye, they started collapsing one by one. It took a lot of power to collapse 100 wild continents. It was something only third-step cultivators could do. However, although the wild continents were collapsing, the 3 great restrictions were absorbing the blood left from the blood tattoos. The restrictions formed an octagon and sealed the white-haired body inside. The 3 restrictions could seal the world, the flesh, and the origin soul, but they couldn't seal the soul, because they were lacking the last restriction to truly fuse into one. However, Wang Lin was very smart. He had used the blood of the countless beast tattoos destroyed by this white-haired boy to dye the restriction. This allowed it so contain soul and show signs of a deformed completion, the spell of a mere ant. Even if you use the blood to complete it, it is still useless. The white-haired boy took a step forward and no longer used any spells. Instead, he forced his way forward. He had reached the 3rd step and had completed his law. Where there was law, spells couldn't stop him. As he walked forward, the world seemed to create a path for him. Even the fusion of 3 restrictions trembled as no spells could stop him. The time restriction broke first, no longer sealing his origin soul. Then the life and death restriction collapsed, no longer sealing his body. Finally, the annihilation restriction dissipated, no longer sealing the world. Although those 3 great restrictions were destroyed, because they weren't spells or laws, the white-haired paused for just an instant. Everything Wang Lin had done was for this pause. Wang Lin's pupils shrank, his hair became disheveled, and his eyes turned bloodshot as he roared, "God-slaying war chariot." The spear on the war chariot formed by the thunder beast shot out as a ray of light toward Daoist water. It was powerful, and as it flew through the air, It split the rank 5 region. After the spear, the 7 thorns from the 7-colored war chariot formed a rainbow that condensed and shot at Daoist water. At this moment, all law collapsed before these god-slaying war chariot. Laws couldn't stop them, the world couldn't stop them, no power could stop these 2 god-slaying war chariots. This was the real god-slaying war chariot. It had the power to slay the gods. Daoist water's expression changed for the first time. This video will end here.